Hey everybody, it's SaskiaSketches and welcome back to Storytime with Saskia, where I read a story because I want to get better at reading out loud, because I'm pretty bad at it. So, today I want to read the first chapter to my MEDABOTS fanfiction that I've been writing, and I've been having a lot of fun with writing. And true OGs will remember that I have already read this like last year. But I want to try again. I only read the first chapter, I think maybe the second one. But yeah, I want to make this a series because I think it'll be really fun, and I hope that I can improve a little bit because I'm not very happy with my reading out loud. I've never been very good at it. I've always kind of, even in school when I was just tiny, I was never any good at it. And I was, I don't know, I kind of given a little bit of a hard time about it. And that pressure only made me worse at it, but I want to learn how to do it. So I guess we're just gonna go do that, yeah. So I'm just gonna go and read this chapter and we'll see what happens. Yeah, let's go. Chapter 1. Snow versus Metabee. So, you finally sold that old Medabot? I asked as I sipped my drink. Henry grinned, but I noticed the emotion he was trying to emulate didn't quite reach his eyes. Yep, and the kid's very happy with... Ow, Metabee, stop! Our attention was drawn to the street right outside the 24 Hop Mart. A young boy with a red shirt and a short ponytail and a yellow Medabot, an old KBT type, were running around screaming at each other. Very happy, huh? I repeated, taking another sip from my drink. The store clerk laughed and scratched his cheek. I mean, the actual Medabot works great for it being such an old type. It's just the medal that's giving him some trouble. I furrowed my brow, brushing a stray curl out of my face. The medal? I've never heard of a medal giving anyone issues, I contemplated, then grinned. You don't sell knockoffs, do you? Henry grinned back. No way, only the finest of Medabot company medals in my store. I chuckled. Right, I'm sure. It is curious, though, and I could swear I've heard the name Metabee somewhere before. Henry tensed up completely as I spoke those words, but my eyes were fixed on the young boy and his Medabot, so for once I didn't notice. I sighed softly. I'm glad he found a good home. I was starting to feel sorry for him, I admitted. Can't be fun, trapped in a box. I'd been contemplating taking him on. Henry relaxed as I moved on from the topic and smiled softly. Don't be. The medal wasn't included, so it really was just a set of meta parts, but if you're interested in purchasing a second Medabot, I can give you a discount. I turned back to look at him with a smile. Won't your boss mind? I inquired with a chuckle. He grinned. Nah, I doubt he'd notice. Besides, you're a loyal customer. Can't risk scaring you away. I giggled. Yeah, right. Don't count on it. This is the only place where I can reliably escape all the noise at home. You know that. And it's so nice and cool here during the summer. Besides, when else would I get a time to hang out with you? You're so busy. Henry smiled bittersweetly, apologetic. I'm sorry, Sas. I promise we'll do another movie night soon. I smiled. I'll hold you to that. Then the door to the store opened, and the young boy and his new Medabot came barging in. My own Medabot Snow was by my side in a flash, protective as always. She'd been looking through the meta parts quietly, as she always did when I was chatting with Henry, but now that a potentially hostile Medabot was in the picture, she immediately returned to stand guard over me. You can't treat me like this, Metabee. I'm your meta fighter. You need to take orders from me. I don't take orders from no one. Henry, we're going to need some... Upon seeing Henry wasn't alone, the kid and the bot stopped dead in their tracks, staring at me and Snow. Hi. I smiled politely. Hi, I replied, then took another sip from my drink. The yellow Medabot had fallen completely silent upon seeing my Snow, who tilted her head forward slightly. The pale convenience store lighting caught her giant blue spikes and flickered off them, highlighting how smooth and sharp they were. I'd seen her do it 1,000,000 times. It was her favourite move, but it never failed to impress and intimidate. "Whoa, who are you?" Medaby floundered, taking a step forward in her direction. Snow raised her arm. 3 more giant blue spikes now pointed at the KBT type's chest. "The name's Snow. Step away from my meta fighter." Medaby raised his hands and took a step back. Sorry, you look like you know how to row battle." I knew Snow very well, and I was tuned into her every mood and move, and that meant I knew just how much she loved to row battle. Even the smallest possibility at a row battle got her excited, and I could sense she'd been dying to put the yellow bot in his place, dying to show him how a real Medabot treated their meta fighter. "Medaby, stop it," the child hissed. I glanced over at him as he tried to pry his Medabot away from Snow. "Come on." I caught Henry looking at us too, and I turned to Snow. "Easy," I said softly, and Snow folded her arms, but didn't take her eyes off of Medaby. "My name is Saskia," I introduced myself to break the tension. "Please don't mind my Snow. She's very kind, I promise. What's your name?" Icky," the kid stammered, still eyeing Snow with concern. I nudged her slightly, and she turned to Icky, who froze. "I'm Snow," she introduced herself, with a softer voice and a kind head nod, which put him more at ease. "So, what can I do for you?" Henry said with a friendly smile, and Icky scratched the back of his head. I forgot." I chuckled softly, and so did Henry. "Well, have a seat, and you can let me know when you've remembered." Icky grabbed a seat next to me, and Medaby sat down on the floor, staring up at Snow. She turned to look at him, her expression inscrutable. What?" she muttered, and Medaby raised his hands again. "I would love to row battle you sometime," he whispered, as Icky and I talked about the weather. "We'd wipe the floor with you," Snow replied, her voice void of disdain or mockery. She said it matter-of-factly, showing just how confident she was in both her and my abilities. Medaby cocked his head in surprise. "Excuse me?" he hissed. "You heard me," Snow replied. "A Medabot that fights his metafighter can't possibly focus on the road battle, let alone beat the well-oiled machine of solid teamwork." Medaby leapt up, interrupting the conversation Icky, Henry, and I were engaged in. "That's it, we're road battling right now. Icky, let's go outside." "What, Medaby? No way!" Icky exclaimed. "Leave her alone." Medaby was fuming. "Leave her alone? Did you hear what she said to me?" I chuckled lightly at the sight. "Snow, you weren't rude, were you?" Snow turned back to me. "I merely stated that by fighting 2 battles at once, he will surely lose both." "Exactly! Come on, let me show her just how wrong she is." Medaby jumped around, then got a little bit too close to me for Snow's comfort. All Medaby heard was the clank of Snow's claws making contact with his chest, and the next thing he knew, he was on the floor. "Snow," I said cautiously, "not in the store, please." Snow looked back at me from over her shoulder, then glanced up at Henry. He crossed his arms. "I could use a little break," he said. "If you want a row battle, let's do it in the back alley." "You're on," Medaby exclaimed as Henry went to lock the door, and Snow chuckled ominously. I couldn't help but smile apologetically at Icky. "I apologise. Snow hasn't had her third row battle of the day yet, so I'm afraid she's a bit fired up." Icky grinned. That's all right. Medaby hasn't had his third row battle yet either." We both laughed, and Henry walked over to the back exit, inviting us to follow along with a smile and a nod of his head. Icky leapt up, and he and Medaby ran after the store clerk, but I remained seated. Icky and Medaby both looked back in surprise as Snow walked over to me instead. She stood behind me as she pushed my chair forward. She stood behind me, and as she pushed my chair forward, Medaby and Icky suddenly realised I'd been seated in a wheelchair. They glanced at each other briefly, then followed Henry outside. Once Snow had rolled me outside, I leaned forward and stretched. My back's killing me. Let's see how long I can stand for." I grit my teeth and knitted my eyebrows together as I moved to stand up from the chair, but Henry walked over before I could. "Need help?" he asked, and I begrudgingly accepted. I couldn't help but groan a little as I caught up. The pain the movement came with was insufferable. I stretched as soon as I stood, nodded a thank you to Henry, then walked over with Snow to our position. Medaby and Icky had both fallen completely silent. I smiled encouragingly, though through the pain. Well then, Metabee, are you sure you want to do this? I taunted lightly, trying to get his fiery spirit going again. You bet, he exclaimed after a second. Snow inspected her claws. I'm afraid this will be over very quickly, she said. I long for a challenge, but I'm afraid this can't possibly be it. I patted her head. Don't be too mean, Snow, I urged, and she nodded. My apologies. I'm sure you're trying your best, Icky, she said, and Icky crossed his arms. Absolutely, it's Metabee. He won't listen to me at all. I don't need to listen to you, Metabee yelled. I suspect you'll change your tune once you see what great teamwork can do, Snow challenged. Care to try us? Metabee huffed and got into position. You're on. Then it's agreed, a familiar voice rang clear. I chuckled softly. I had been waiting for it. Mr. Referee found himself on top of the roof of the 24-hop mart and jumped down with a graceful somersault. I officially declare this match a submission row battle. Meta fighters ready? Medabots, row battle! I didn't need to give Snow any orders, because our usual opening strategy worked well in this scenario. Snow dashed across the battlefield, closing the gap between her and Metabee before he could even lift an arm to shoot at her. She slashed at him, taking out his left arm in one fell swoop, and then, as quick as lightning, she jumped back to her original position. Metabee and Icky stood frozen in shock, Icky's mouth wide open. Did you like that trick, Bee? Snow chuckled, which shook Metabee out of his daze. Oh, sure. Let's see how you like this, he shouted, then launched rockets at her. I lifted my MetaWatch to my mouth for the first time that row battle. Seeker missiles, most likely. Try to avoid them, see what happens. If they follow you, you'll have to find something for them to hit instead. I spoke clearly and softly, loud enough for Snow to hear, but not for Metabee or Icky. Icky furrowed his brow, trying to overhear, but he couldn't. Snow jumped up high and spun, changing her direction mid-air, and as expected, the missiles followed her. I think I know just what target we can use, I muttered, and Snow chuckled. She leapt at Metabee like a cat pouncing on its prey. Duck! Icky shouted, and Metabee did so just in time to avoid her. They both laughed as Snow rolled across the ground, dispersing the inertia of her jump, but Metabee was not prepared for his own missiles. They hit him square in the back of the head as he turned to taunt Snow for missing her attack. I think it's about time to put them out of their misery, I said, my own fighting spirit flaring up within me. Snow's single eye gleamed as she pounced a second time, landing another hit on Metabee. She jumped right out of the way, again just as Metabee swung at her. Come on, Metabee. Come on, Metabee, we can't lose like this, Icky yelled. Don't tell me what to do, Metabee crumbled back. Take out his legs, I ordered, and Snow leapt, kicking Metabee's legs out from under him, and then pinned him to the ground. She pointed her massive claws at his face, looking down at him with amusement. Ready to give up yet? Metabee tilted his head forward, and the sunlight gleamed off his rocket launchers. Never, he shouted, and shot 2 more missiles. Snow leapt up high into the air, caught the rockets, and threw them down at Metabee. He just managed to scramble out of the way. What do I do? He shouted, as Snow came falling from the sky like a lightning bolt. I grinned, and Snow would have if she could. Yes, I thought to myself. Finally. The bushes, Icky shouted, pointing. What? Metabee yelled. Get in the bushes, now. Just trust me. Do you want to win, or what? Metabee glanced at Snow rapidly approaching, and he decided he didn't have anything better to try, so he jumped into the nearest brush. Now what, genius? He snapped, but then he noticed Snow hung back. Huh? Icky nodded. Just as I thought, he said into his MetaWatch, but loud enough for me to overhear. Snow may look fast and agile on open ground, but all those spikes must be horrible for moving in dense terrain. Metabee remained quiet for a second, surprised. Now shoot her, come on! Right! Metabee lifted his right arm and shot at Snow, who easily evaded the bullets. If only I had my other arm, Metabee grumbled, and then suddenly realized why Snow had targeted him there first thing. They thought that far ahead? Whoa. Blizzard, I said into my MetaWatch, and the single word was enough to convey to Snow exactly what I wanted her to do. She jumped into the air, slashed her claws, and from the wind that gathered between them she summoned a blizzard straight at Metabee. It froze him to the ground, into the brush, and as Snow came down, she flung herself at an unmoving Metabee, tackling him and taking him out, but not before Metabee launched 2 final rockets at her. She took them full on, sustaining quite a bit of damage, but Metabee was already out for the count. His metal compartment sprang open, and his medal flung out. The winner is Snow, Mr. Referee exclaimed, and I nodded. Medaby! Medaby! Icky yelled and ran over to his partner, searching for his medal. Henry came up to me. Shouldn't you have gone a little easier on them? He whispered, but I shook my head. That would have been disrespectful, I whispered back, both to Snow and to Medaby, but above all to Icky. I walked over to Snow to inspect the damage the rockets had done, brushing some soot off her white plating. Icky found Medaby's medal and stuck it back inside his body. I turned to the both of them. That was a fantastic row battle, I exclaimed with a wide smile. You were incredible. Thank you so much for that. It was so cool to see you work together a little bit. I can already see the spark catching ablaze. Both Icky and Medaby looked up at me, unsure of what to say. The spark? I nodded and pointed first at Medaby's chest and then at Icky's. That right there. The spark that connects your hearts. Nurture it, feed it, and it will grow into a wildfire that nothing can contain and nobody can come between. I placed a hand on my heart and the other on Snow's chest. The fighting spirit that connects the metafighter and medabot unleashes a power greater than you could imagine. I think we saw plenty of it, actually, Icky grinned, and I laughed softly. Henry walked over and crossed his arms, smiling. Are you happy now, Medaby? He asked, and Medaby crossed his arms. Of course I'm not happy. We lost. We need to train, Icky. We need to get stronger. We need to take them on again and win next time. And Snow chuckled. And? Medaby grumbled. And work together, I guess. Henry and I laughed softly. Amazing. I'm proud of you, Medaby, I said, and Medaby was so surprised that he fell silent. Huh? Icky laughed at his dumbfounded body language, but I wasn't done. I'm proud of you too, Icky, I continued. That strategy of hiding in the brush was very solid and would have definitely won you the game if the first half had gone smoother for you. Icky beamed. Hear that, Medaby? Next time, just do everything I say and we'll win. Medaby crossed his arms and defiantly, but before he could say something, I shook my head. Well, you could try that, I stated. However, you'd lose out on everything Medaby has to offer. Icky tilted his head in confusion. Uh-huh? What do you mean? Didn't you win because you told Snow what to do? I smiled and Snow chuckled. Kind of, but not really. See, the dynamic of the medabot and the metafighter is like that of an aeroplane and a control tower. Henry nodded as I explained. As the metafighter, you oversee everything. You have a much better view of all that is going on. You can see the terrain, you can see the position of the metabots, you can even keep track of the other metafighter. As control tower, it's your job to communicate all of that relevant information to your medabot, and then together you can make the winning decisions. But it's still the medabot that has to do all the fighting, and if you can't trust them to carry themselves, you can't rely on them. You're partners. You work together to land the aeroplane. I can tell Snow all I want to jump and spin and leap and pounce, but unless I provide her with a clear path and a reason to do so, we'll still lose. Exactly, Snow said. I need her and she needs me. As soon as we realized that, we became unstoppable. I chuckled softly and smiled down at her with a look of absolute love in my eyes. Wow, Icky breathed out, and Medaby remained quiet. Then Henry grinned and clapped his hands. So, who's ready for some drinks to commemorate this awesome row battle? My treat. I smiled fondly. Icky cheered, and Mr. Referee thanked Henry kindly as we all walked inside for some well-deserved apple juice. Okay, I think that went pretty well, actually. I don't know if the microphone picked that up, but the neighbor dogs were going crazy for a bit, and I kind of stumbled a little bit as they were barking because they were so distracting. But I think that helped. I think the biggest thing that I really try to do this time is just kind of slow down and take my time with it. Because I feel like when I'm reading, I always go quicker and quicker and quicker and then stumble over my words. So I guess taking my time helped with this. I just wonder if it made it too boring or not. But hey, I had fun. I think it went pretty well. I'm kind of proud of this. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video all the way to the end, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more art videos every single Friday. Have a great weekend, guys, and keep on sketching. Bye!